Hello and welcome everyone to the August 19th, 2022 edition of the Kubernetes Contributor Comms team meeting. I should just go ahead and change that in this doc. I also need to check with Harshita on that. Yeah, I'll update on that later. But anyway, once again, as always, we do have a code of conduct. So basically, it says for everyone to be respectful of their fellow participants and speakers and generally be excellent to each other. So let's go ahead and get started with our content for today. If you have any updates and big wins or new items that you want to discuss, please go ahead and add those to the notes below the table. Assuming that we have time, which I think we will. I'm guessing this buffer thing won't take the whole time.
No, it shouldn't. No.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So we'll probably go over the table today too. But that's the main thing that I wanted to make sure that we do in our meeting today is talk about buffer. So we do have an account now. I still haven't gotten any progress on getting the billing set up for it. Eventually we will get that done. I've brought it up several times, so still working on that.
Would you like me to poke at that? Is that a Bob thing? Is it a Jeff or Amy thing?
It's a good question. I've poked Bob about it a bunch. And the last time I mentioned it was on the contributor summit meeting. And he was like, oh, well, the people responsible for that are on this call. And then nothing happened after that. So now I'm like, do I poke Bob or do I poke one of the CNCF people that was on that call?
Who are the CNCF people on the call? Because I can poke them. Unless you just want to.
Deb and Brianna. The other person is new.
Yeah. Okay. Let me.
Yeah. I could also look into it, but.
Your call.
If you are on a roll, ready to do it, feel free.
I just don't know who I would talk to, like who has the credit card, right? Like I don't know.
Agreed. I don't know either. Which is the problem, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I could ask Amy, but I feel like she'd just be like, ticket. I'd be like, okay. And yeah, maybe something.
Bob definitely knows. He just hasn't told me.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take that from Bob. How about that? Let me go find Bob.
No worries. More importantly, though, asked Chris to be here today.
Of the office. Damn it.
Oh yeah, he's out for like a week.
Yeah, he's out
that's
forever. Good. Yeah. So never mind. We won't have this resolved for a while. But I can ask in the ambassador channel or Amy or somebody.
I could ask the folks who are on the contributor summit meeting.
Yeah, go. Why don't you do that?
I'll just handle that.
Yeah. And then if you get nothing, I'll put in a ticket and we'll just go from there.
I think it was Deb or Brian, because I also asked them about something similar.
I mean, Deb would make perfect sense to reach out to, right? Like,
yeah, it's one of them
and everything else, so she would know where to go.
Yeah, they were the ones on the call, so it has to be one of them.
Cool. Deb being the more senior person, I'd reach out to her.
That makes sense. I'll do that. Yeah. I should write that down on a physical note.
Or I can do it right now if you want.
No, I can do it.
Okay.
It's probably better if I do, since we already mentioned it on the other call. There will be more continuity of the ask.
Yes, it's always good.
It's good. But more importantly, ask you to be here today to give us a walkthrough of the buffer platform, since I don't think any of the rest of us have ever used it before, but I know that you are familiar with it. So
yes,
you could teach us what you know. Do you want to take over screen sharing, or do you want me to walk through?
That would be awesome. Let me take over screen sharing.
Cool.
So
do I have to like?
Yeah, you have to allow me, I guess.
I'll just make you co-host.
That works. Ta-da. All right, screen sharing. Which one? All right. I want to, okay, so this is just buffer, straight up buffer. I want to give you an idea of what a full buffer looks like. Okay. That's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just like a goal. If you have buffer, you want stuff in buffer, and you know, this is how I run sharing of social media that then I get analytics on to build a newsletter. So as you can see, I have 2 accounts in here. They have different queues. They are separate, right? Like you can send to one queue and not the other. For this case, we only have 1 account in Kate's contributors, so there's only one place to queue things. Now, some things that you might want to think about are these publishing features are calendars, right? Like if you look at a calendar view of everything, which is rendering, so give it a second. Like this is all the posts for the whole week that I've put out. Now, in our account, it's empty, obviously, but the idea here is you can have a calendar view, or you could just have a queue view where it's just like linear. And just like these are the posts that are coming out. Here's the date and timestamps. Now, how do you set up the posting schedule is what they call it. They kind of bury it. It's in settings. It's in posting schedule. And they give you the tools to like make a consistent posting schedule throughout the week, right? Like you could say on weekdays, post at these times and just populate a grid. Obviously, this is for my use, and I have a lot of posts going out during the week. But I don't publish on like Saturday or Sunday, for example. Under general settings, there's not much here that we'll need to do, right? Like you could shuffle queue if it's really full, just to kind of like mix things up if you want. It's kind of a knick-knacky feature, so don't worry about that. Like if we ever had a Bitly account and we wanted to use that, we could connect it here, Buffly or Bitly, but those are the only 2 it works with. Buffly being their own thing. So no reason to shorten links, in my opinion. So what does it look like if there's an approval process? Well, there would be a team here and all that fun stuff, but we're not there yet. What does it look like to actually send a post? It's super easy. All you do is hit create post. Done. So let's go to the Kate's contributors account. So there's not as much cruft or stuff I can break. Let me just switch windows real quick. And there we go. So here is our account. Now, when you first log in, you might get dumped in the calendar view. And if you notice this queues little down arrow thing, like it's not super obvious. So be careful of this. Like if you have multiple buffer accounts, like make sure you always have this expanded basically when you log in. But by default, it's not. So the first time you log in, you want to expand it just to make sure that you're not in the wrong place kind of deal. And you could say, you know, here's everything in the queue. Here's our default posting schedule, which actually isn't a bad default. Buffer has put some research into this and set it up for us kind of automatically out of the box when you get the account. We can set up approval processes once we get it paid for. We can have draft tweets. And then again, the settings are exactly the same, right? Like you can enable a bunch of stuff that we wouldn't necessarily enable, and you can manage the posting schedule here. There's a calendar again of cool, like you can have the calendar view and put stuff where you need it there, or you can put stuff in the queue exactly where you want it through the create post method. Like let's say blah, blah, blah. One thing I don't like about it is like schedule post. Yes. When? Oh, it doesn't give you the queue blocks, right? Like if it could just say, hey, I want to put it in the 2147 block because I use 24-hour time. It doesn't just do that out of the box. Let me say 47. This is just a quirk you need to be aware of. So like if I schedule this for 2147, where we have a slot today, if I schedule it, notice how it doesn't take over that spot. So you have to like drag it into that spot to make it work. It's a weird quirk, but just something to remind yourself of. Now, if you go in to edit a bunch of them all at once, guess what it gives you? Oh, switch to scheduled slots. Like that should be in the actual first create post thing. But I think the create post thing is generally used for ad hoc posting. So feel free to use create post as much as you want. Yes, let me close the composer and delete this before it goes out the door. And you know, there's multiple views of this you can look at. Analytics will get when we pay for stuff, but we get some stuff out of the box already, right? Like as we send things through here, we'll see reach, we'll see all kinds of fun engagement numbers and all that fun stuff. The engagement tab is new to Buffer. As you can see, it's not loading anything. That's fun. Let me see what it looks like over on my account real quick. Same thing. Okay, so nothing to be seen here. And then start pages here. I don't know. Probably don't need a start page at all, right? Like that's just an add-on feature that they just started. But I think it would make sense if we created campaigns, which would then give us a drop down at the top of the create post links, or whenever we clicked on a box kind of thing to create a post. It would give us different campaigns. It could be like, you know, profiles or SIG spotlights or whatever. And we can measure those campaigns and how well they're doing over time. And the idea would be to get, you know, more engaging language out there so that we get more engagement on the social. So it's kind of a, you can treat this as a tool to measure your social media and a way to schedule your social media at the same time. So yeah, like that's really it, right? Like if you click a box, it'll schedule it at that time. If you don't click a box and say create post, you can send it out right now if you want, or you could schedule it for later or some other random time. There's no campaigns here yet, but as you can see, there's a drop box for that. Super awesome drag and drop capabilities, including you can attach it to your Canva account, Dropbox, Drive, you know, all the places. You can even search Giphy if you want, you know, but be careful with copyright there. But yeah, that's really it. It's not that much. It just becomes a lot to manage once you fill up the buffers, if that makes sense. When it's full, it's like, okay, are these in the right places and times to go out that they're going to be engaged and, you know, interacted with? And it being a global audience, that makes sense. I think we have some writing somewhere about like how often we should post, like in our docs, but I don't know. I don't recall where exactly. So I would have to dig them up. But, you know, 4 times a day, if we posted that much ever, I would be surprised. But maybe we can now with this tool, right? Like that's kind of the idea. If you have something to post, throw it in a time slot and out it'll go. So yeah, that's kind of it for me.
So 2 questions.
Sure.
One really. So one of our open items is automating blog scheduling. And you said that Buffer might be helpful for that.
Yes.
What are you thinking there?
So Zapier, that's what I use.
So there's another tool that we need.
But Nigel, I think, has an account. Like we just
Okay.
need him to set up one thing for us.
Okay.
So what we would want to do is set up a rule to say, hey, go from RSS feed. Let me find a better, let me just create one real quick. How about that? So we need to go from RSS. Yeah. Choose an event, new item and feed. We'd put in the feed ID and we'd say publish to, we'd attach it to Buffer. So it would put it in the next time slot. So basically we would build out this rule in whatever Zapier account Nigel has his hands on, because I think that's paid for through GNCF. And it's one rule. It's super simple. You just attach it to Buffer, but somebody has to give Nigel access to the Buffer thing so we can set up the link. Maybe, I don't know. That's going to be interesting to figure out. But this is the linchpin of that. Or there is some other stuff you could maybe run as a GitHub action out there too, which might be possible.
So actually, yeah, maybe regarding this block scheduling, So, I mean, yeah, so maybe we'll come to this also later. So I have also like something figured out in this, what is this? In the Hugo itself, which we can use a particular flag, which can set it up and then which actually, yeah, it actually will not run until the particular date and then it will exactly run. So actually I tested it and it actually works. So it's also part of the issue which I was working on. Actually, that feature doesn't exist as of now. And with that particular flag publish date, it actually we can, if the build starts, it will publish it. So that could be also be an option. So just that's the documentation I'm writing right now for the patch for the pull PR. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I wish that was super easy, but you know, there's authentication and stuff involved.
Yeah.
So like my Zapier account is full of these little, keep going back. My Zaps.
Imran, are you talking about automation for like approving PRs?
No,
On
I'm
schedule?
saying for the scheduling the blog post. Let's say we want a future
Right.
dated blog post. Yeah. So like, for example, this issue happened like in January or somewhere around, they want to push a blog post on some X dated, which is the current date plus X date,
Right.
but it actually published. So there was an issue which Tim Bannister created, and I took that, which I
Yep.
figured out there is no scheduling feature as of today within our repositories. And with this published date, I tested locally to see if it the GitHub or any the container pulls it to the server, but actually it doesn't. So when we push this publish date, then actually the build engine or the build agent will wait for this particular date and observe it, and then it will push the or it will publish the post. So
That
it
works for
actually works.
websites.
Yeah, for the
But-
contributor
Yeah.
website, for the blog post. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Right. But that has nothing to do with Twitter, right?
no.
Right.
not
Okay.
Twitter. No, I hear that it's a scheduling the blog post, so that's what I. Yeah, so I was.
Right.
Like here's just like what it would look like in Zapier once you were adding all the buffer bits, right? Like you would say they give you these, edit it. They give you these actions where it's like, oh, what do you want to add? Like here's an example title, right? From an RSS feed. Here's a URL, and you would put those fields in here, right? Like I put suggested read in front of it, but we could literally just put the title of the blog post, hyphen URL, space URL, and then maybe like a tag and done.
New Kubernetes blog.
Yeah, like new Kubernetes blog or just Kubernetes in general, right? Like, so it gets out there with the real, you know, hashtag fodder and everything. It's,
Well, we could say for your suggested read.
yeah,
instead of
like new
suggested read,
Kubernetes blog. And then
Hashtag
just put,
Kubernetes.
yeah. And then done, right? Like that's all it really is in Zapier. You could do this with if this then that as well, but I know Nigel has access to a Zapier account. Let me ping him real quick while we're talking about it. Oh, I just looked at chat. Sorry. Here we go. So like we want to schedule this. Yes, let's do that. There is a Chrome browser extension that you can use to schedule these things too. So like, boom, there it is. It just put basically everything right there for me in buffer. So like I could say new blog post, new Kubernetes. Kubernetes.dev. No,
That one's not dev. That one's
it's not
.io.
dev.io. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just say Kubernetes. Why are
Yeah.
you still hyperlink? New Kubernetes blog. Oh, and autocorrect. Thank you. Ooh. And I don't want this to be shortened. We need to probably just turn that off for the account. So like go to queue and I just say, tell you what, I'll schedule it for Monday because it's already late in the day and Friday, if that makes sense, right? So
True.
Monday morning, we want it to go out.
Yeah.
So like just put it as a random time is what I usually do. And then I go to Monday and pull it into the slot that I want it. So if you go look,
It looks like we're set to GMT, so Europe time.
yeah, which I don't know if that's the right time either. So
I have no idea what to translate that to, but I guess we can use whatever time zone we want to.
I mean, I figured the default time zone of UTC would work.
Yeah.
So let me turn this off. No link shortening. Okay, cool. Time zone.
Talked
Where
with
is
Bob
it?
about this once, figuring that like official Kubernetes contributor things should use like UTC or something as their default
Mhm.
time zone, but he actually said that that's not the case.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
as I recall.
That is GMT.
I'm not sure if it was Pacific time or if it was, I think it was just like whatever is most convenient.
I think it was Pacific time because it
Was
happened.
it Pacific?
I mean, everything else is
Yeah.
Pacific time for Kubernetes and has
Okay.
been for a long time.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Bob also mentioned that in another thread I was in.
All right, we'll make it West Coast time. Done. So all these things are now going to switch to West Coast time. We didn't have to change a single thing. Isn't that cool? Schedule times are still the same. It's just going to do this time zone from now on
Okay.
and not shorten links for us automatically. So yeah, so Monday, 8:58 a.m.
Pacific time, which is
Or oh god, no, yeah, like what? Ooh, because we did change times here. Switch to scheduled slots. Yes. Okay. Cool. Save. Done. All right. Sometimes it gets like I use Brave and a lot of content blockers. So like if that becomes a problem, you might have to manage those. So it gets a little weird when it refreshes or auto does anything sometimes. So just keep that in mind if you got Privacy Badger or DuckDuckGo or anything running. Origin. Like this is quote marketing stuff that it would block sometimes, to be honest with you. So if you had like a pie hole running in your house and like you can't get to analytics for some reason, that might be why. I think I've had to whitelist a couple of buffer URLs to be on, or allow list, sorry. Buffer URLs in the past, but yeah, we just scheduled a post here. It goes out Monday, 8:58 Pacific. Done. It was that
Very
easy. We just use the extension, it makes it super easy because it's just add a couple words and a hashtag. Done. We should add a hashtag here.
yeah, that doesn't have one right now. Should we have our own hashtag? Should we have a Kubernetes contributors? No one cares about that
I mean,
currently.
we can. There's nothing wrong with establishing one.
True.
Like, if you do it like that, it kind of makes sense. Why
We
not?
also don't have to. Either way.
Whatever. You can log in and change it. If you
We
want.
should start probably having also I need to get the social media lead role merged in. I've got one LGTM on it. We can just go with that. But we need to add some hashtag recommendations somewhere,
Yes.
probably.
Kubernetes, Kate, those are all good ones.
Yeah.
KubeCon, if it's
for
during
KubeCon.
KubeCon, yeah.
I used to do like KubeCon NA and
Yeah,
KubeCon Cloud Native Con.
people
and
still do that, but I feel like
people just look for KubeCon these days.
yeah, they only look for KubeCon or KubeCon that event. They're not looking for
Yeah.
like KubeCon NA 2 weeks in
2022.
advance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All
Mhm.
right. So that's another action item for me. I should add that to our notes.
Yes.
And I can take back over sharing.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any
stop
other questions?
that. Yeah. Feel free to add, like, don't be scared
Anytime.
by the tool. Feel free to ask me at any time of day. Like, hey, Buffer did this weird thing. Is that okay? Like, I'm okay with getting those questions.
As you all know, we're very excited about this tool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I want to ask one question, Chris. So does it notify after scheduling? So let's say you scheduled a post for Monday. Does it notify that the event was successful or something like that? Is there a chance that it might fail? Or
I'm sure there's an API you could probably hit to be like, yo, look at my post or something. But Like I don't have it set up to notify me.
So we don't need to worry about it. Just a case that
Like,
we don't care. So
Go
it's
check
just,
the Twitter account is basically
Yeah,
the
okay.
notification,
Mhm.
right? Like you could turn on notifications for Kate's contributors and
Mm.
done, right? Like that's how I would probably do it. If I was really concerned about it, I would set up like another Zapier rule to be like, oh, something got posted on Buffer, send me an alert kind of deal.
Mhm.
But that might be overkill,
Yeah,
considering that
maybe
Twitter
not
has a
now, yeah.
notification function, so.
Yeah. Got it.
So yeah.
All right. Exciting.
Yeah, that's
Gonna
really
do
cool.
new stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
everyone,
it's really great, especially when you have all the blogs that are posted or all the URLs that they're gonna be, and you could just sit there and just like bang, 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 and just create all these tweets.
exciting.
They're ready to go.
So action item for everyone is to, I guess the best way to do this, the best way I've thought of so far is to direct message me on Slack with your email address that you want to use to interact with Buffer.
Mhm.
And I will get you added in as part of the team. Cool. I should probably put a reminder about that in our Slack channel. Add a reminder.
One other OPSEC thing to consider, Caslin, is once we do this, do we want to change the password on the Twitter account so that we only go through Buffer? Like nobody else has, I don't know. It's something to consider for contributor comms in general, right? Like
I
how
think
often
we've
should
kind
that
of-
be rotated?
Yeah, I think we've kind of needed to do that for a while because it's been a couple of years. So probably rotate the
Mhm.
password. Lots of action items here. But
Yeah,
they
like
are exciting ones.
once you get that, like, automation set up for blog posting and stuff like that, I feel like having people go through Buffer as the only like means, unless it's an emergency, is the right route.
Yeah. Because even for immediate posts with Buffer,
You can still do that. Yeah.
the team lead, the admins will be able to do that immediately without need for approval.
Yeah.
So there will be no need to actually log into the Twitter account at any time.
Other than to set up Buffer if it breaks
Yeah.
the connection somehow. Yeah. That's it.
Or special configuration things, or sure there will be things that come up, but basically never.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the only time anything ever happens for me, it's usually LinkedIn and they do something where I have to reconnect the account. Twitter is pretty much rock solid.
Awesome. So we also have some new items to go over today before we get to the table. So Ray, tell us about what you got.
Hey folks, so release 125 is on schedule for Tuesday, August 23rd. So if I don't do a PR to do tweets on that, I'm sure someone else from the release team will, or if I don't see one from the release team, I will make a PR for to tweet about the release on August 23rd. Other than that, there's 13 feature blogs after the release, which is the most, or one of the most we've had.
We need to get
in
that
a long
automation
time.
set up now.
Yes. So that's really great. We have all these featured blogs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of writing though for tweeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
so they'll come out on the Kubernetes.io site, right? So as long as
Yes.
we get the RSS feed set up through Zapier,
Yeah.
they'll
we'll need
just
to set up-
automatically be tweeted.
Right.
Oh,
We'll set
cool.
up, and you can set up multiple feeds in that Zapier rule. So you can do the dev site and you can do the Kubernetes site.
Yeah.
This will be a great test.
Yeah.
Yes. We need to get that set up as soon as possible.
Let me find Nigel.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a while either. So this could be a multi-day thing.
All right.
Yeah,
Other than
that's
that, been getting a lot of questions on when the 126 shadow application is going to come out. So once that's out, I don't know when, because that's by the 126 Emeritus Advisor. I or the next emeritus advisor will send out, we'll create a PR for our tweets for that. So if I don't see it, I'll create one. That's just kind of how I go. So. And that's Nabru, and I'll put his name on the agenda.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Any other questions about release stuff? There's nothing else in particular coming up that you think we need to do comms about? I know there was a list of dates that CC posted somewhere at one point that I was like, oh, we should probably tweet all of those things, but it wasn't like a direct ask for us, and I never did get it added into our queue. So
yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Perfect. So sorry, I'm not ideal because I'm driving, but on the dates, I'm actually also working as a comms shadow for 125, and we do have a list of the feature blogs. They have a schedule, and we have the dates there. So if the automation for some reason isn't up to par, I can obviously be directly involved in the tweets because I'm actually already involved in the comms team.
Cool. Sounds good. Always good to have a backup. And Ray said in the chat that the 1.26 release team shadow application is already out. So we do need to get a tweet out about that. If somebody wants to claim that as their first buffer tweet, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Anybody particularly want that? Perfect. Thank you.
I'll take the task of tweeting.
Cool. Who was that? I couldn't tell my UI setup.
I think it's Avinash.
Was that Avinash? Okay. I think you're already signed up as a team member for Buffer, right, Avinash? Have you gone in and checked
Yep.
it out yet?
I didn't check it, but I was one of the first to join the team.
Yep. Avinash is also a shadow for the contributor summit. So, and was also on last meeting, I guess, is how that happened, actually. I don't remember exactly where we discussed that. Anyway.
We need to have emails going on for registration, I believe.
For registration to the Buffer account? What you were talking about?
No, for the, the NA, KubeCon NA, the
Oh, yeah,
mail
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I haven't checked over. One of the folks made some edits to a paragraph in the first email that we need to send out. By the way, this is not exactly what I meant to talk about today, but we need to review that, and I put a date on it for Monday, so we'll plan to send it out Monday. We'll talk about that later. I'll ping you in Slack. Cool. Anything else about the release stuff? Move on to the next item. First, Ray, I thought you were raising your hand to say something, and I was like, well, that's an interesting method.
No, I was stretching. I forgot I was on video. I totally forgot I was on video.
You're welcome, folks watching on YouTube.
Nice.
All two of you, most of you robots. All right, so Rajula, we are honored with Rajula's presence
Yeah.
today. What you got for us?
Hi. Sorry, it's been a while I've been here. So I finally started working on the knowledge sharing thing. It would be nice if someone can take it up. I'm having less and less time every week because of my day-to-day job. So I started making a doc with all the things that we have. So I have a couple of questions I have. How do we do the walkthrough of it? do we do in the next week meeting, or should we organize a separate call with the interested folks?
So this will be for folks who are interested in the kind of tech lead roles that we were talking about. One of those is Kate's.dev focused, and one of them is kind of, I think, more general. We have the definitions, information about them up in the table. But folks who are interested in tech lead type roles, understanding how our automation works and stuff like that, ping Rajula and get involved with this. I think Imran, you were interested. Atarva, I know
Yeah,
that you've had interest in
you
this
can,
kind of area.
yeah, I just want to write to him. You can add my name. I can also ping him or.
Okay, I think we can organize a separate call, and then I think documentation should be enough to walk through that. Cool.
Atarva, do you also want to be involved with this? I know that you've been interested in techie areas.
Yeah, count me in.
Anyone else that wants to have their name on this so that we check with you periodically on it?
I remember a couple of folks pinged earlier on this, so I like them as well.
Okay.
Good.
If there was anyone else beyond that. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Rajula. I know that it's a kind of heavy lift for you at the moment, but getting that knowledge passed off will enable our newer folks, Imran and Atarva, to take over more of this responsibility and share the knowledge, which is just generally a good thing. Awesome. Okay. Next item, if there's nothing else on that, Avinash.
Yep. So the pending PR that was supposed to go 2 weeks before, I did raise the PR today. So folks who are willing to review it, please review, and if things look good, just give it a LGTM.
Awesome. Excited about that. While you're at it, if you want to review the other role, the social media coordinator role is also available for review. I'll find that link in a little bit once we move to the table. Chris, we already discussed that. Anything else you want to say about that?
No, Nigel's been using his personal account for Zapier and just need to go through the official process like we did for Buffer, but he's going to create a shared account because I think the minimum thresholds on a new account would be fine. So
okay.
He's been using it for Zoom stuff. So it's time for an official Zapier account thingy because now there's more than one team that needs it.
Yep. Sounds right. Exciting. Look at us pushing for change.
Yeah, right? Automation. Here we like, come on now, folks. Let's get it.
Yeah. All right. So time to move to the table unless anyone else has new items or updates, big wins. Going, gone. Let's move into the table. We're already pretty late in our meeting, so we won't get through a lot of this. Hopefully we can move through kind of quickly. I'll skip the first two since we know that there's nothing in particular to update there, and they're also not super high priority. Buffer account is set up, still working with Popculin on setting the billing up. Auto-generating blog tweets. I'm going to remove all of these old notes. Yeah, and just mention that we're working on Zapier for this. That will be very important. If we could get an account for that set up in the next week or so, then we can handle the release blogs that way.
Yeah, I'll work with Nigel. He's
cool.
He's right at the keyboard and ready to go. Well, we'll be in a minute, I guess.
And I'll change that. If you need any help, you know where to find us. Scheduling tweets. This is no longer an issue.
Yay!
Yay! Such pain. Finally,
we can still use the PR process.
Yeah.
But if we ever get that validation failed thing, go to Buffer.
Yeah. And we'll want to think about, this is one thing I was thinking about earlier while we were talking about Buffer, is the GitHub process, I think could be really nice for folks from other groups who want to submit PRs,
Mhm.
but also they'll probably want to schedule things. So it's probably still actually going to be an issue.
I'll think about that one.
'Cause I know that's
I might
happened
play with
a few
Zapier on
times.
that one too, because Zapier can talk to GitHub, and it's kind of like,
Oh, interesting. So maybe I
Yeah.
should actually leave that in the table for now.
I
Scheduling
mean,
tweets for non-contrib comms members.
yeah, I still think that's going to be a PR with a please tweet at this time kind of thing.
Oh, I probably need to update this issue.
Yeah, maybe.
I think once folks learn about the infrastructure, maybe they can spend time and figure out new solution for this.
Yeah.
Can be
Yeah.
a good starting point.
Because it'd be great if we could just say, here's some metadata on GitHub and a PR. We hit approve, and it just goes off to Zapier to get scheduled into Buffer.
If
That'd
that
be-
could work.
That
be
would be
helpful.
freaking wild. I don't know how the hell I would do that, but maybe it's possible.
New technology. Gaining the pieces to do the things that we want to do. Okay.
And
So
play around on my personal account. So.
we'll come back to that next week and the week after until we figure something out. Next item, role descriptions. So social media coordinator, PR. Aslan added a PR. Oh yes, that's me. That's right. I was still thinking about the events one. I was thinking the events one was first for some reason. I was like, why is this here? Anyway. Oh, Avnish had to drop. Thanks for joining, Avnish, even though he's probably already gone. So there's the social media coordinator role PR. It's been out for a few weeks. I think I've only got one LGTM on it. If anyone else, yeah, Avnish, thank you. But if anyone else is interested in social media lead, or generally if you want to see how we're defining our roles, please do take a look at that and LGTM it. I will approve that probably a little bit later today though. So, and then the events coordinator role. Let me grab that. I guess it's here. So the HackMD draft is done. We've got the actual PR up. That is not right. 681817. And I've got to fix this link. Yeah, that. Oh no. Did that actually work right? I'll make sure that it did. Okay. Alrighty. So we have 2 new roles within our group that are getting added as handbooks. We'll want to make sure that we're setting people up officially in those role capacities, updating the GitHub. That is something that I need to assign to myself. I'm going to put it at the top of this for now. As to update contrib comms homepage with role owners. Okay, and so these role definitions should also include information for shadowing. So if you are interested in these roles but don't feel confident in taking them up right now, though I strongly encourage any of you who are interested in going ahead and taking ownership, we will all help you. It's not, the world does not immediately fall on your shoulders if you take one of these. But we are also defining shadowing processes if you would prefer to go that route.
So.
Question?
No, I wanted to follow up automating with Zapier GitHub
Oh,
things.
perfect. Wonderful.
No, it's not possible.
What?
You can only, it's designed like it's
Less
an
perfect.
event-based thing. It's only new event stuff. Like if there was a new PR, you could trigger that with if this then that, but that doesn't mean we want to actually tweet something just because a new PR is open, right?
Yeah, because we do have like the scheduling PR.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not a PR, it's an issue.
Yeah. So this is very much set up so it's like, oh, notifying you instead of like the GitHub app kind of thing. Like this, like I put in a request to say, hey, a pull request being merged is something I would like to trigger on, but we'll see what happens.
But there's
Basically
no real point
asking for
in
features at this point.
that. Yeah. All right. So we have the tools that we have, and we'll think about how we want to communicate to the other groups what is available to them.
Yeah. And I still think if they need a tweet at a certain time, opening a PR is the best way, but they also need to like contact us and channel somehow.
Yeah.
Or by handling, put our handle in their channel, whatever it is.
Yeah. All right. I'm thinking we'll put a ping in the ContribEx channel about having our new automation and whatever we want to communicate about. Here's how you get in touch with us to send tweets now.
Mm-hmm.
And explaining also the automation around the blog posts.
Yes.
So that'll be important to communicate.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll
think
once
about that.
that's set up, I'll let you know.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of like administrative tasks around Buffer. So that's in the list.
Fun.
Make sure to put something together on that. And if I don't, we'll talk about it next week and I'll be like, I need to do that. But hopefully I will do that. So the next roles that we don't have defined yet, we still haven't figured out exactly what we might want a project manager role to look like. And it isn't here, so we don't have to discuss that. And we're also very short on time. This approver leader role is not fully defined yet. But there's some concepts in here about general tech leadership. There's also some potential for concepts in here around group leadership. We have to decide how we want to parse out the tasks and assign them to roles. A more well-defined role that we want to create is probably this contributor site role. Imran, you sound like you are on track to be the owner of that.
Yeah, could be, but I have interest, so at least, yeah.
Cool.
I'm looking at this contributor site up and now, so it looks similar. So I'll reach out to Chris. I think Chris has also a good expert on Hugo and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can mangle any Hugo site, including building versions of Hugo that they don't automatically
see.
build for you.
So if you two would take a look at the other role definitions that are in PR right now, look at the format of those, think about what you would want to put into a contributor site manager role or owner role, and start putting together a draft for that in like HackMD or Google Docs, whatever you want to use. We can start getting that through the process to create a role for that as well.
Nice.
So
Tech lead role.
maybe Kathleen, so which MDs we are having so much marked down, so I just want to make sure which role should I look at? Now look.
This one,
Is it
contributor
the-
site.
Yeah, that's clear. So you said like
Oh.
the end, yeah. The
Yeah,
two,
either of the like the
okay,
social media.
what? Okay, I see. Okay, the what Avinash and the other one. Okay,
Right.
got it.
Event management and social media. The links for both of those are in the same spot in the table.
Yeah, okay.
Right
got it,
here
yeah.
and right here.
Mhm.
Yep. That should give you a sense for like what information we want to include in these. If you think of anything else you want to include, this is not a hard template or anything. So feel free to adjust, but the sections I have right now are for social media are overview, minimum skills and requirements, expected time investment, general expectations, and shadow overview.
Got it.
Yep, and you can look at those for examples. And so the contributor site role will definitely be a component of a tech lead role. We were thinking it might be a couple of roles within our group that co-tech lead for our group. We'll see. And logging lead is also another concept that we're thinking about. I need to write out a draft on that, and I have it.
Is it more of a lead or a coordinator?
If we want to turn it into a role,
Okay,
then there's an element of leadership to it, I think.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
okay.
Managing collaboration with the blog sub project, making sure review and other blog tasks are on our radar and getting completed.
Yep, yep.
Working
Say
with
no
all of
more.
our storytellers.
Yeah,
So
got it.
leadership.
Makes sense. Yes, sorry.
No, all good. Questions are most welcome. We are trying to figure this stuff out together.
I know. Ooh.
Perfect. So we have 6 minutes left. Update GitHub repo to contributor comms name.
Someone
issue-
took that PR, didn't they?
Yes, Harshita did a wonderful job of just getting all of those cranked out, which I did not fully understand until we talked about it. And I was like,
Right.
oh, like everything here is actually already done. I thought there was some component that I still needed to do, but there wasn't. So then I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. And crickets, because Josh was busy, who had been helping Harshita with it, I think.
Hmm.
And Harshita had kind of done her component. And now it's been so long that one of the PRs needs to be rebased. And so that she told me that 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything from her since. So
You
I need to
could
check in with her on that.
you could pull the PR yourself if you wanted, and
That's true.
like
But
the
I'm so bad at
chain-
rebasing.
I know the chain of custody might get broken there, so
Yeah, there's also that.
yeah.
So I should ping Harshita about it.
If she needs help, feel free to ping me.
Yeah. Will do. Sorry about that. That's definitely on me.
Oh, you're fine.
We'll get it worked out.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, worst case, we can blow everything away and redo it, right?
Right.
Seems like it was not that bad the first time, just no, it's gotten worse. Anyway, SIG spotlights. We've only got 4 minutes, but I know SIG docs is already out. Oh yeah, Chris, you were going to write a tweet on that. I think you did.
I just did.
Oh,
Wait,
well,
which
think-
tweet?
SIG docs
Oh,
spotlight.
let me find it.
I think you did last week, like during the meeting, and it got sent out. You could check the contributor, Kate's contributors account to see if one went out. And if not, we can write one. Now we can write it with buffer.
Yeah. What was the topic?
SIG storage, the
SIG
PR is
docs.
in for review. I know Frederico asked for help on that this week. Any updates from there, Frederico? Or
Yeah.
still trying to find the
No,
right
yeah,
people?
that's. I think that's good to go because it's the both PRs are approved, and it's scheduled for the 22nd of this month. So that's done. Thank you for your assistance in Slack, because the SIG storage lead pinged me about the article, and in the end it was a bit of my fault because the bot just mentions someone in particular as the approval,
Right.
but it doesn't need to be that person. And Tim Bannister was already heavily involved in the review. I asked him for a final approval, and we went through a couple of reviews, and it was done.
Perfect. Awesome.
And the rest, nothing new. So SIG security, I have no additional answer, and I've pinged SIG architecture again to have a status on the first pass at the questions, but still no answer.
Gotcha.
I'll
No
keep
worries.
at it.
These tend to be pretty slow. So
Yeah. And
you're already
specifically
going
in
pretty
August,
fast.
I'm assuming others have the same limitations as I do as well during this month. So I guess that in September I will hopefully have better output out of this.
Yeah. Good stuff. And Atarva, you wanted to start one on SIG testing. I don't know if you've been able to make any progress on that. You're also working you're also doing several other things, I think, in the project, right?
Yeah, I'm doing. I'm coordinating with the 6 CLAC mentoring cohort.
Yep.
And a bunch of other stuff. So I really haven't got any time to look into it.
Cool.
But
do you want me to remove it from the tracking list for now, or do you want to keep
yeah.
it on here? Okay.
You can
Cool.
remove it. if
You can always
anyone
come back to
wants
it.
go. Yeah, sure.
SIG Spotlight is a task that's always open to anyone. If you want to just write a blog post, that's your opportunity. You can always ask me for tips on the process for that. I have the documentation laid out and I know where it all is, so you can ask me. Updates on blogging instructions. This is it. Well, Federico, you do have a PR out for this, for us specifically. So.
Yeah, well, but the PR, but even more importantly, perhaps the HackMD document in which I've been integrating the comments that have been that I've been getting through the discussions in the channel. So it's quite different from the initial scope. Initially I just aimed at correcting the repository that one would target for the contributor site and not the Kubernetes main site, but I added all the additional comments, and right now in HackMD it's like this relatively comprehensive blogging guideline that goes into the expectations of the editor of what happens when someone wants to blog about a topic. Is it going to the contributor site? Is it going to both? What happens in each one of the scenarios? Who is responsible for doing what? So I've been adding that, and I haven't checked. I don't think that I have got a lot of feedback there, but I would encourage anyone to give it a go and just give it a read and comment on it, because I'm waiting for it to replace the PR. So when I have enough comments there, I will just wholesale replace the text in the PR with the version in HackMD.
Nice. Sounds like a good process. And it sounds like you're setting you up for this blogging leader role that we need to write. So
Yeah, well, I'm not saying yes or no, but it wouldn't be something that I would be let's say sad of doing it. I'm open to it. So yes, mostly because I've been even in the release 125 release teams as Com Shadow, a lot of stuff is also around blog. So it seems that I've been directly and indirectly moving around blogs and blogging guidelines and blogging processes. So yeah, I'm up for it.
cool. We'll chat. And we are a minute over, so if anyone needs to go, do feel free. We've only got a few more items here on the table, I think, so I'm going to run through them really quickly. Katacoda, this is just something that we're keeping track of. There's nothing in particular that needs to be talked about, so I'll move past it. Annual report, Federico, you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much for writing all of those tweets about the help wanted section. I don't know if they're fully complete, but I know that you haven't written any more in a little while.
No, because I've been driving around.
Just busy.
And, yeah, this last week was not atypical. I still have around 6 to go, and I will likely just make them all around next week, and then you can use Buffer to schedule them as you intend.
Yeah, ping me your email address so that I can get you added to Buffer, and you can just add those directly into Buffer.
Perfect. Okay, excellent.
Yeah. There's an approval process in Buffer for this stuff.
I assume so, yes. Excellent. I will do.
Perfect. And I should mention that there's around 6 left as of 1902, which is the wrong date format for so much of the world, but I'll do it anyway. Rajula, you've got your knowledge sharing going, so that's perfect. APAC Meet Our Contributors blog. I think we'll skip that for now. If there's anything that you all need from us, let us know in the channel. Issue with contributor site, Imran, I know that you've been making progress there. If you need any help with that, you know where to find us. There's no active action items for that blog from Deba. SIGDoc subproject process changes. That's like, you don't need to talk about that. Nothing immediate, nothing immediate, nothing immediate. All right. So that's it for us today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'll go ahead and stop our recording.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks
all.
everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Quick
Have a nice
weekend. Cheers.
weekend.